Okay, so this week we actually look at the business models or new ventures as an idea, and as well marketing. Yeah, so we kind of finally grounded now in the traditional disciplines, if you want. So with me we have the overview for the business models, and I felt we have talked already quite applied about business models that I bring actually the dimension of sustainability in as well. So I've combined this, but nonetheless to basically get the argument for that. In the past, or today, we have associated normally success equals a sack with a weird sign on it. No, it's a money or profit, yeah, or treasure actually, and this is still true. Yeah, the opportunity of a great treasure or becoming rich incentivizes masses of people. Yeah, which is quite surprising. Yeah, they clearly haven't read the narratives with a treasure hunt. It's normally quite difficult to find it in the first place. Yeah, so but okay. Anyway, so and there is a disconnect, and this is kind of my plea for sustainability, to kind of the unintended consequences that sometimes great ideas or initial invention look very tempting, and often have as a consequence impact that maybe doesn't just sit with society, but has as well an impact on our ecologic system. Yeah, and I mean the whole burning engines basically had an impact respectively, what we still try to actually kind of accommodate now. So there's an increasing risk of interconnectivity, and actually you can kind of filter for this. So I give you a tool that you can add to your business canvas if you're interested in this, to actually extend it and look a little bit at the sustainability of your business model and potential impact. Yeah, so it's an assessment tool. So there's a missed opportunity, and hence innovation and opportunities to be implemented if you are up for it. And that can then generate even more profit if you want, or more sustainable profit. So the argument, yeah. So what am I actually talking about now? So we had, this is then the conclusion, yeah. So doing good and doing well is then when you have combined all ends, and this is probably when we discover that we still have missed something very essential out, but nonetheless it will improve it, yeah. So that's the argument. So we are really in search in this session for a better business. Yeah. So let's see how we can get there. And of course as well with less risk and more innovation. So how do you design a better business in the first place? Now it's actually quite difficult as it is already. Yeah. So actually running a profitable business is tricky in itself, and good intent doesn't always need or doesn't always result in good practice. So a lot of the good inventions or good intended inventions actually created a lot of dilemmas. So previous best practice was have an idea, particularly if it's a good idea, you would present it in a traditional business plan, you would get money, you would put hard work in, or so at least the argument from the literature, and with a little bit crossed fingers, hope and luck, you would actually succeed to get a return on your investment or your initial idea. Now, this was not even looking at efficient or effective or reliable models. So this was really kind of aimed at a particular financial system for getting money, right? So this was aimed at a bank giving you a credit. Yeah. So we have already, and as a consequence, you had some money being burned, and that led to certain stock markets and actually whole industries that kind of were based on this. So now we have moved beyond this, and you already know it as a business canvas that we have used. So this comes actually originally from a PhD that kind of rethought with a design model how we can change the traditional business plan that we had. Yeah? Hence we call it business model. You have probably noticed this. Now one more thing actually, this is actually already out of book. So you will see a lot of the current business practice is still built on the old kind of business plan idea. You write a business plan, you go to the bank, you get a credit, and then you operate with this. Yeah, so this is already a step ahead if you want. Now it originated really from Alexander Oberwalder, a PhD student at the University of Lausanne, and he kind of looked at design thinking as an approach of redesigning what old business plans actually become and made businesses go well or create actually a return on investment. And yeah, it gave you the business model canvas, so this was really the first generation, if you want. Yeah, and they proved the concept as well on their own book, which was quite an interesting one. As you can see, it worked well. Yeah, so they had their sales. No, it didn't like that. So the business model was actually kind of the idea of looking of how to create value. So the method or process by which one receives appropriate compensation, so this is your earnings or your return on your investment for providing value to a customer. This is really what it was all about, and respectively it was built that way. So the actual canvas is kind of based on 9 questions. So if you have already used the web page, the blog, then you probably have downloaded even the questions. We have kind of worked through it as topics. Yeah? So this is probably a slightly different approach. But if you look at it, this is the front of the house. What does that mean, front of the house? Does anybody know?
It's like the line there, I think.
Yes, yeah, you were both right. You just didn't use the same words in the order, but you're quite right. Yeah. So it's kind of our external sphere, where, well, front of the house is actually the idea. You have a shop, yeah, and the customer comes in front. You are both spot on. Yeah, and then you have the back of the house where the magic happens. Yeah, that brought the product in the front shop, if you want. Yeah, and they have kind of kept that conceptually. Actually, this is literally the analysis that they used in the PhD study, which is quite interesting. So you can download it; it's for free available. You will see their work actually was very simple concept, but it's very powerful for deep analysis. Now, so there's as well a light, flexible framework. So they have kind of thought through kind of established ways of finance and running business, and simplified it enormously. So hence it is quite flexible, but hence these small words stand actually for a lot. Yeah, so there's a lot behind it. We have already played around with it, so you're a little bit familiar behind it. So why did they actually did this? Well, business plans were actually too rigid, or the other way around, so too heavy in terms of documentation that it needed, and it really kind of favored a certain type of business. So a lot of the new businesses that you see nowadays around you, like Google, like Facebook, or as well even the Apple model with their iTunes store. If you look at something like this, those were businesses that wouldn't have easily prospered under old business plan models. Yeah, and I mentioned already the rigidity, and partly they are as well making wrong predictions, or it's the other way around. It shows actually statistically that a lot of the old business plans are a little bit like a coin throwing model. It's very good for the risk assessment of the bank, but if you look at the success from the entrepreneur, it's actually quite terrifying. It seems to be 50% kind of pass, and this is entrepreneurs that already start a few ideas. Yeah, so there's something not as meaningful maybe for the entrepreneur as it should be. Yeah. Now, a startup is not a large company in miniature, and beautiful pictures again. You have to adore that. So everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, and there is another metaphor if you want. So actually, a horrendous slide at the end, and it's the same punchline again if you want. So your plan works well until you hit the customer. Yeah, that is another one. Maybe not hit or get punched by Mike Tyson. That is actually quite terrifying. But yeah. So the point is that there's something inherently different between entrepreneur and product manager. Hello. We have noticed that product management in its own right gets you actually a decent product going. But entrepreneurial, particularly if we look at success, is actually a completely different game. And you have probably already noticed this. it's always easier said than done in front of engineers. Yeah, of course, as an engineer, we are often very passionate about the product and like to talk about those elements. But here is a thing. With this, you can see there's very little emphasis on the product other than the value proposition. Yeah, there may be key activities and some customer-related activities. So it's actually a format of neutralizing the actual product focus. So this created as well certain dilemmas. So the typical product designer or engineer or as well a pharmacist that kind of comes up with ideas often runs into two failures. So, oh, why did this not work? I had writings there. So one is the technical side that often, when you come from engineering background, is not a problem. Yeah, you come up with proof of concept, and you have often a very strong tradition. So technical failure is normally not what fails the entrepreneurial endeavor. It's more this phenomena. Well, what do we see here? Yeah. Yeah, so it's a, what is
like
it?
no customers.
Yeah, no customers. Yeah, spot on. Yeah. So this should not repeat here. Yeah? So just imagine it. Most of the entrepreneurial endeavors actually fail on customers or actually hitting the right market. Yeah, so a lot of great products, but not too many customers. Yeah. And by the way, a lot of entrepreneurs understand this, and then basically, I don't want to say steal, but they certainly adapt the cool products and services and bring them together to make actually an entrepreneurial endeavor that works, right? So this was a whole story with Steve Jobs playing around with a mouse and a Mac, right? So we see that actually quite common. Now with this we have as well the actual value proposition, and we have actually the other slide for this I showed later. So this was really that value proposition is not your product or the feature of your product. And don't get me wrong, this is important stuff, but for the business model that is actually not so relevant. Yeah? For you, this is more focusing at your product idea has no intrinsic value, and it's more a cultural concept. Yeah? So this is actually important to understand. So what does that actually mean? So the value proposition has often iterative factor of being better, faster, cheaper, or again addressing directly culture. Yeah. So we have now a lot of products and services where we reinvented nearly like fashion. And so we know this already with clothes as fashion, right? So okay, maybe my clothes are not a good example. Yeah, but the point is, I run in very slow fashion circles. Maybe that is what it is. But if you go with every season of new fashion, right, then you would dress actually kind of every 3 months completely different, right? So this is kind of a cultural phenomena, and we see that more and more. So to give you an example, this came actually from a pharmacy example. So they had the exact product description that was very accurate, and the whole point is, I don't even start reading it. This is very interesting for the engineer or for the patent holder, but in reality, this was all pretty bad. So we needed something in the business model that actually made it easy accessible and like basically allowed the positioning of what you may deliver with your business model, right? So you see first drug-like molecule, and in the end what they actually settled for was a better recovery, cheaper healthcare costs. Yeah, so then you actually see what you're aiming at. And here you could have already kind of talked maybe about your revenue example or customer segment, yeah, if you want.
So is it like flexibility for future opportunities, like?
Yeah, so you want to show as well accessibility.
Yeah.
And so with a bank or if you have like a blue chip stock, you know, they want the technical details. They are probably interested in the IP. Yeah, but you're not reaching your direct. You're basically going to a middleman. Yeah, that kind of holds the power then to market you in their business model. And this was kind of a hindering factor. It depended really if you had like a middleman that saw the potential, or maybe was just not interested because there was so much variety. Yeah. And then, okay, we had that already. So then with the customer segment, we had as well who's paying you and for your value. That was quite important. So in the past, it was often a product. So here we are thinking really about value generation. So customers are human beings as well. So 3 roles of a customer: decide, pay, or use. This was kind of the simplified version. Be aware with marketing next week. You will actually unfold it enormously. Yeah? So there are actually very sophisticated marketing models for this. But the point here was as well, with this, be as specific as possible. So this is as well why we had the particular canvas, right? So yeah, okay, to play with example, not along spinal cord injury patients, doctors, insurance and co, particularly if it's cheaper, they love it, right? And then a business canvas, we recognize as well, we have to go out and test it, even if we simulate it, right? This was as well a new thing. In the past, if you had statistics or market intelligence, a lot of banks were like, fair enough, there's a market, good luck. Yeah, and this didn't necessarily mean that you actually had the correspondence. And I mean, you saw it already. So in our business canvas, this was really where the value was kind of refined, where you could test as well, where you actually see already what you're addressing in terms of value. You remember the pains and gains, right, with the questions. So this was extremely simplified. So you will see again with marketing and as well as stakeholder analysis, you can probably go a lot further with that. And as well with the product, service, gains and pain release. That was again kind of targeted at refining where they actually saw statistically relevant advancements in the market. Yeah. Yeah. So again, along that line, there was as well the channels. Yeah. So here we're moving now to the channel side, and here you had kind of the channel phases, which we haven't really covered. But this is as well what you will have with marketing overlapping. So first of all, there's an awareness, attracting actually the right right channels is a double emphasis. But so here you try how do we raise awareness about your company's products and services. And then second stage is the evaluation. How do we help customers evaluate our organization's value proposition? So this is again why we try to simplify it, right, to create a value brand that is easily accessible. And then purchasing power, how do we allow customer to purchase specific products and services? And then the delivery, how do we deliver a value proposition to customers? And then after sales, how do we actually provide post-purchase customer support? Maybe you even want to be a particular fashion item that replaces on a regular basis, right? To have a consistent revenue stream or something like that. Yeah. Now here, channels, again, this is extremely simplified, but the kind of biggest driver for this was direct, indirect, multi-sided market, and here direct farmers market. What is that, farmers market? What do I mean by that? Is that our normal market, like here, where do we like the Sainsbury next to the business school, or?
It's like local produce.
No, it's a local.
Yes. And where is this? Where would we find this? Farmers market? So there's not one answer. I think you have the right answer in your mind, so don't be misled by me. What is a farmers market? I mean, traditionally, this is the old marketplace, right? In the city center or village market plaza where you would go, and then people that are the farmers come there and open their little stall and sell you their products. That's it. Yeah. So it's not as fancy as it sounds. So it's kind of the idea of natural marketplaces where you actually physically go, where you can go.
And anybody who's selling the product, like people are selling fruits on city center. So these are farmer markets here.
Yeah, I mean, so the farmers market, the idea is that you can just rock up with whatever you have, you put it on, and people come to have a look, right? So there can be even very exotic ones if you want. What is an exact? So we have some makers fair that was on in the Newcastle Lives Center, I think. So there were kind of entrepreneurs or inventors and kind of showed how they had solved with a product or service current problems, or some just blew Coke up and showed how it could be a rocket engine. But the point is, it was kind of innovations presented, and there were actually company research and development directors that were going around to look at the concept, because they can actually buy those. Yeah, so that there are basically different markets, and this can be as well a car boot sale if you want. Yeah, if you have your product and you think you have a good shot at getting rid of it at the car boot sale. Is this something you're familiar? Car boot sale? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you basically drive there on the field, you open your boot and then sell. Yeah. So that's the idea. Then there are kind of trade expos. This is a little bit more refined. So here we have different. It's like a conference where companies kind of show their new concepts and try to win you over with their product or service or the intent of products. And then we have a cold call. What is it?
Literally just approaching customers directly without no money.
Like a random.
Yeah. Yeah. So how could we do that? Cold call?
Get a list of phone numbers while you go knocking on doors.
Yeah, spot on. So the traditional one is you go from door to door, knock on, and like, hello, have you thought about buying a new television or something? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That was probably that example. Television would be risky idea. Okay. Yeah, and then we have the indirect. So here we have as well wholesale, retail, but this is like using literally channel markets. Yeah, so this would be the Sainsbury. Does that make sense? Yeah. So farmers market is us rocking up and selling, and here we are going to kind of Sainsbury and ask them to put it on the shelf, and they may do so or they may not do so, or we probably have to pay, or they put something on our price, or probably both. Yeah, they charge us in the first place, and then they take something of our profits as well. Yeah, but wholesale and retail exist as well. So if you are into communication systems, or you may know B&Q, so there are a lot of retailers that have specialized on diverse products. Even you name it, with aerospace, defense industry, they have actually their retail events. Yeah, and yeah. Then you may want to go as well your own store. This is as well. Why is the own store indirect? That's surprising, right? Why would that?
Because you get to choose what products you sell in your store.
Yeah, but you have already identified it. Yeah, so you would actually have a different business entity. Yeah, so it wouldn't be so.
Like the advertisement in our own store.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you sit here, so indirect is really just the recognition that you have like another unit that kind of sells on your behalf. Yeah. So for example, if you compare own store and farmer's market, it's a thin line, right? So if you're in your flat and you kind of use your balcony to sell something, yeah, then is it farmer's market if it goes on the market plaza, or is it your own store? So the point is, this is probably the finest line, but your own store is the idea that you have a business that you use to sell it, a different unit. Many companies have that, right? So they have a sales department or a group that kind of does your retail or sales or whatever. Yeah. Internet is another one, and affiliates and partners maybe is another indirect one, so people that promote it for you. And then the multi-sided market, so here this was kind of local newspaper or Facebook, or as well the Google ads that we had are kind of typical channels that fall into this. Now here in the example we had something like advertising and direct sales. So they want to run directly to the doctors and maybe target as well the patients, or insurances maybe. So but this leads us kind of to the customer relations. So here, how do we actually interact with our customers to provide value and receive revenue? So again, we have here actually 7 questions in our canvas, so they're a little bit more refined. But for the overview, I have the examples with transactional automated. What does that mean? Transactional? Does that mean if somebody finds your product online, yeah, and on Amazon, and he says like, I have a carpet that I don't want, and makes a photo and uploads it, then he gets your product and you get the carpet? Is that what it is? transaction? No? Yeah, you're nodding. You like that idea? Yeah, it is actually a transaction. Yeah, it's probably not a favored transaction for you, depending if you really want a carpet. Yeah, but yeah, it just means that you basically have an exchange value. And normally we set that, of course, as money, and it's often automated. Yeah.
Isn't it illegal?
Illegal?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, it depends on your national economy. Yeah, so it's actually true. So do we still have transactional markets or market mechanisms?
Well, yeah, we do within like the UK, but it's different. Like if you were to sell something online, it's different policies. Or if you were to sell a car, you can part exchange it, and that's a transaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's different from saying an online product, which is taxed in one country and different tax in another country. You can't actually say what the value is, really. But you can't have an automatic value for something unless the currency is the same everywhere. So I think it depends, isn't it?
Yeah. So you have already identified it. It's a game of national economies and the trade agreements. Yeah. So some countries have bilateral trade agreements where you literally just accept goods at the same value, and it's often a fixed rate. Yeah. So you see that, for example, with the European market. I think with Denmark, they have their Danish kroner or something, but the currency is completely fixed to the euro. Yeah. But this is literally a trade agreement where this is done by the currency of the money, but there are other trade agreements as well where goods are actually recognized. Yeah, so there's a weird thing, and I mentioned it last time. Gold coins are still kind of accepted.
Is it like trading? Yeah.
Like what?
Like trading, like if you are trading some money from different currency.
Yeah, no. So there it depends. Yeah, so you may get taxed, and national economies play their own games there potentially. But so, for example, the Krüger Goldrand is still accepted in all banks, so you shouldn't be taxed on it. If you pay with it, you get literally a fixed value in US dollar, unfortunately. So this may backfire if you are in Europe.
But anyway, is eBay a transactional example?
Could be. So who talked last time about the Bitcoin? We had one team, right? That.
Yeah.
So the Bitcoin is actually such a device. It's actually neutralizing it from national markets, and it's a pure transaction-based format. Yeah? But again, it's not fully embraced yet everywhere. And people are still skeptical with the Bitcoin, I think. Yeah? But the transactional is really just the notion that you have a direct exchange. Yeah, so for example, if somebody purchases, you may have a set fee, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Or as well, the carpet was a good example. Yeah. So 7 water bottles against a carpet. Yeah. Or a cow against 3 sheep. Okay, here it gets adventurous. But yeah, so we can do it as well as an add-on. What is an add-on?
So it's like an upsell. So when you've sold a product, you can provide an additional service for an extra fee. So for instance, if you sold something which had warranty for 1 year, but you wanted to sell extended warranty, it would be an add-on.
Yeah, that would work. Are there as well physical ones? Is an add-on as well if I have like a mobile and you can kind of glue a camera underneath and then it's a better camera phone, I guess?
Yeah, like any product that has space to like build that you only get, you can have an add-on. So even say if you sell motherboards and then you can have like different amount of ports added and like things like that, I guess.
Yeah, spot on. Does that make sense? Add-ons? Yeah. Community, what is that?
To interact with the same people, like in the same business, like you are.
Yeah.
Increasing the innovation. Yeah.
So it could be. Yeah. So community. Actually, what I had in mind there was to do with. It's a Swedish example of heating. So they have kind of a community project of gas supply to a whole apartment block. And so this is absolutely legitimate for everything else too. So you can actually make a community agreement and then have by default product acceptance at the individual rate. right? So community is as well when you try to actually go for a patent for a certain national market. This is normally a community business. Yeah, fine. And personal assistance?
Is it like after sales care, like a duty by the provider to do something?
Yeah.
Because they've sold the product, it's their duty to make sure
Yeah,
that the customer needs anything else that they can provide it.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
It's like custom product producers do this. So you basically call them to do a custom product for them with these personal features.
Yeah. I was thinking of your app here in personal assistance, for example, was a food app, right? You are stepping kind of between the restaurant and the customers potentially to assist them in getting their food quicker. Yeah. Okay, so here it was kind of personal and SCI community. So this is kind of SCI. I think that was health, right? Social. Okay, I don't know anymore what I meant with that, but yeah, it's in the notes as well. Now, key activities is kind of what you are doing, right? So what key activities do our value propositions require? So this is our distribution channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, and here categories maybe production, creation, problem solving for something, yeah? Which ones do you have? Anybody with products? You had a product, right?
Yeah.
No?
Creation as one.
So product and creation? Yeah? Or problem solving?
As well as problem solving.
So the car park, that was yours, right?
It's
This is kind of problem solving,
Yeah.
yeah? And creation is a difficult one, right? So yours could be as well creation, yeah?
Yeah, just a very thin line between production and creating, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
And your app could be as well potentially creation, yeah?
Problem solving.
It is
Problem solving?
solving.
Yeah? Okay, so it's a tricky one. Have a look at it. The literature is actually quite specific on it, yeah? Now here, key activities, oh yeah, okay, sorry, we are dealing with drugs, so they have their national approval thing, and then they have to go through different phases. Yeah, this is actually quite boring. So, but anyway, so with certain elements, you have, of course, frameworks where you fall in a product phase that already exists. Yeah, so pharmacy stuff, you have to have clinical trials, and we know this from the, what was it, child monitoring example that we once looked at, right? So America has a few steps, actually, so do we in Europe or here in the UK. There are certain approval stages, yeah. Yeah, and those guys knew as well something about toxicology and manufacturing. Yeah, this is the old pharmacy joke, right? We are not talking in pharmacy about healing, but how to bring toxicity in our body to numb stuff down, right? Well, so, but anyway, that is a terrible joke. So, but it's actually quite accurate. So, what are the key resources? So, we needed a tool, right? So, key resources. And this is focusing what key resources do our value propositions require. And here you have again our distribution channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, so we had those already. Typical categories are here: physical, intellectual, brand, patents, data, human and financial. But again, this is kind of a resource view. Did you have any physical in your startups?
Any what, sorry?
Physical resources, key resources?
Yes, we did. For the product.
Yeah?
Yes. Basically some electrical parts, some mechanical parts.
Yeah. So in a way, actually, you're right. You have actually the whole spectrum, right? So you probably have equipment, you probably have aggregates, depending on what you want to do yourself. And do you want to do a patent then for it, or this is already the other?
You just give it the old patent pending and leave it at that.
Okay. So yeah, for the 2 ups, you wanted to physically manage. This is the question, right? So this is probably as well more intellectual.
Yeah.
Potentially with the lighting system, some physical, if you want to sell this. And for your up, it's completely intellectual, right?
Yeah.
Maybe some programming and some financial points, but hardly anything physical, except maybe your laptop and access to it. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay. So here they had actually lab space and a clinic device team and pre-clin team. So this is basically to get it ready for approval and money. Yeah. So this is again the question: if you actually put the money in here, but if you have it as a key resource available, then it's of course great. Yeah. So did anybody in your teams have money as a key resource available?
We're all putting £1,000 in our company.
Hey, yeah. Okay. Everybody's slightly getting nervous in your group now, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and here it was as well with patents and data. So if you have something like pharmacy products, there may be other elements as well, right? So key partners. So this is kind of the other side with whom you're working. So who are your key partners? Is kind of the typical question. But this goes actually further. So who are our key suppliers as well? Which key resources are we acquiring from partners? Which key activities do the partners actually perform for us? And yeah, so this is normally a good starting point. In this here, you have kind of patent law consultants, CRO. What is that? CRO? Actually, I forgot what it was. But this is actually the corresponding partners to the clinical trials as well. So don't worry too much about it, but it was just an example to kind of identify. So there you go. Yeah, and with this, if you work through it, you may notice that some of your customer segments fall out because your business canvas has like a central stakeholder initially only. Yeah, so this meant actually it was really better drug candidates. So they have kind of formalized this. But again, so here, if we come to the cost structure, you look, of course, first at the value-driven idea. Now, the cost-based pricing is coming initially from GM. What does it stand for? General Motors. Yeah, great. Yeah. So there's as well GE and the whole rest. Beautiful American big companies. Yeah. Then in the 70s, it was kind of changed around. It was price-based costing. What's the difference? I'm really confused here. Cost-based pricing, price-based costing. What are we talking about?
So if you were to do cost-based pricing, you'd see how much it costs to make, and then put your margins on after that.
Yeah.
But price-based is like how much is it going to cost? Like what can you sell it for on the market at the moment, compared to other competitors? So then it becomes the cost-saving exercise to do it within the budget. So
this really kind of sucks when you're a project manager, yeah, because then everything is tightly priced, and then you have often like, I don't know, if you're lovely, then you have 3% profit. If you're a little bit more margin-oriented and risk-averse, then you have 20% profit. But here we are talking, and you are negotiating the price, and then you have the costing internally, and you say, we made like something like 200% profit. I generated this as a project manager to 20% clearly. Yeah, and this is when you have a bonus as a project manager suddenly. Yeah, but the point is it gives you a different leverage. Yeah, so price-based competition costing is as well that you actually reverse engineer kind of your pricing, which has nothing to do with the actual cost. Yeah. In reality, yeah, if you read kind of beautiful economic books from costing from the past, they tell you that you should raise the wages of your workers. Yeah. But we have an innovation called shareholders and entrepreneurs, so this may not actually happen to the same degree. And so the idea is really to equalize the surplus value and distribute it in your organization, right? That everybody stays with you. Okay. Have a look at that. That is actually still the Toyota idea. Yeah?
So nowadays it's just a complex system, right? So in the initial stage, the customer gives you an initial price to do the product for, and as soon as you see that this price is just not fit to your costing, you can increase the price towards the customer, right? So like for example,
So,
BMW just order a new instrument cluster from Bosch for an initial price. But as soon as Bosch realizes that this price is too low because their costs are just much higher than expected, they are on the cost-based pricing stage, and they just increase the price towards BMW. They just say, sorry, we can't do it for this price.
Yeah, good, but then you got the costing wrong, right? So this can always happen. You know, you realize that.
But the initial stage is like a price-based costing because BMW offer a.
So price-based costing comes often from natural succession of initial prototypes to second-generation products or something like this. And if so, mobiles are a typical example. So initially it was actually quite expensive to do them, and they kept just the price at the same level. So because it was like a fashion product, nearly every 1 or 2 years they had a new product, and they knew that people were willing to pay this price. But at the same time, you had kind of cost engineers that tried to drive the kind of parts prices down.
Yeah.
So, but this wasn't translated into cheaper mobile prices. This was just like held at the same rate, and arguably invested in research and development. Yeah, so the pricing-based costing is often if you either have already a market or you have a certain fashion or culture, as I indicated earlier, that kind of sets precedents. Yeah, and in reality, you can as well establish that. If you look at very old business models from some of the biggest family empires or businesses, they often started the other way around. They looked, what do I need for a good life? How can I afford it? And how much surplus do we have to have? And then they kind of started developing the business around that. So this is true for ThyssenKrupp. That is Dyson, the vacuum cleaner. Yeah. And all those guys have started the other way around.
It was a very disruptive strategy.
Yeah.
What they did. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you're interested in that, you will see the costing and pricing was kind of not really linear followed. Yeah.
So the value driven is before, if you're releasing any product into the market, like Nokia 3310 Classic, right? So they expected the cost for Nokia 3110, it's say £42, but they will expect it they will release the product in 2018 in January. So when they release it, the cost driven is started.
So no, well, this is just how you are actually kind of allocating the costing, right? You can literally do it by looking at all the costs that you have as an entrepreneur, right? This is how much does it cost me to buy the material. And then you may have a rate of £500 per hour, so you can calculate that as well. And that would be like the pure cost-based pricing. Yeah? So you add it all up, and you want to make a profit because you don't know if you will sell all the products. Yeah? So you may want to have securities or a little bit risk-averse pricing strategies in it. Yeah, but this could be tailored in, or you could just have it as a clear profit, and then you would have a price by definition, yeah, through those costs added up. Now, price-based costing is actually the other way around. You look at benchmarking mechanisms or what the client is actually willing to test. This was a little bit what we looked at as well with the Google ad to kind of figure out what the customer is actually willing to pay. And you remember again the weird medical device where the customer was actually willing to pay a lot more than what they initially thought. So this is kind of a strategy to find it out. Yeah? And if you look at it, all the brand products, for some reason, we are convinced quite happily to pay always more. Yeah, I've noticed this on my last business trip in Indonesia. I was in the no-name hotel, and next to me was a boutique hotel, and it was the same. It was absolutely this. I shouldn't say that. It had different names on it, but we had the same staff. They even told me this. They got trained in our hotel and then worked at the boutique hotel. And we were like, what's different? And if you looked on booking.com, one was like per week something like 250 and the other one was 2,000. Yeah, so this was just like complete, and we had the same footy. Yeah, it was amazing. So, but you know, there's a big lesson. So brands do make a difference. Yeah, so and the pricing doesn't correspond to the costs. It's just not the case. Yeah.
Like in a more like salesy type product, like you can actually sell the same product at different prices to different customers.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Yeah, should we go in? So there are actually typical examples of that. There are literally companies that have done that. So they have kind of sold their branded product at the high street luxury brands, and then they have made a fake brand up that is a little bit different, but same product effectively, because they didn't want to admit to the kind of higher consumption markets that it's the same product. So they just put a new sticker on and sold it basically at something like a 40% loss to the other market, but it was a really big market. Yeah. And this came so much around that even the haute couture, so arguably where the value is the most vain in fashion and jewelry, we do this as well. Does anybody know what haute couture is? Haute couture is when you go to any of the famous designers and they completely tailor the newest fashion item to your body. Yeah. By the way, it doesn't always, in my case, look like the models walked on the. No, I should make jokes about this. Anyway, so the point is, so they kind of tailor it to your proportions, so it sits really how it should sit. Now, for this, you pay something like 1,000% of the 100% price that you kind of pay when you just take it off the hangers. And with the hangers, they kind of tailor it a little bit towards you. So they tighten it maybe a little bit. But it's basically you get it for 10% of the original price. Yeah. And still, all the big brands do it now. All the fashion, luxury fashion labels. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that was just cost driven. Then there was as well easier to identify than revenue. So what's the difference between revenue and pricing or cost strategies?
So you don't actually know how many units you're going to sell, like if it's a product, but like, so it's sort of, with the revenue you're going to have, it depends on like the product and how much volume you're going to sell. So like if you have a high quality product with high margin on it, you don't actually have to sell that many products. But it's hard to identify how much of your product, if it's really successful, you might not even have the capacity to make as many as you can sell. However, it's not, if it's a high risk, high rewards product and you can't sell anything, you're just going to die straight away.
This is what we played around with the costing point. Did you remember the break-even point? That this was literally kind of an indicative tool to see what you have to do. But revenue may be actually just access to a market. And then once you're in the market, you actually realize what the potential is, and you may change your pricing or costing structure because you realize what the market actually is. Now we have this industry-specific matrix. So this is cost per user, or cost per unit, or cost per available room. Anyway, that's one pair too much. Yeah, but so there are all kinds of confinement units, and this depends very much. Yeah. So at the moment with the digital industry, we are actually looking at usage, which is quite interesting. So we want to actually price elevation, for example, or transport. Yeah, but this is not yet happening. This is kind of big ambitions at the moment. Yeah. Okay, so this was the cost structure. And here the example was pay for activities and resources. But again, this was quite simple. Revenue streams, you can ask yourself kind of the questions: for what value are our customers really willing to pay? And for what do they currently pay? How are they currently paying? How would they prefer to pay maybe? And how much does each revenue stream contribute to the overall revenues? So you may have multiple revenues. Yeah? So the old example for this was the oil lamp, right? There was a crafty inventor. He didn't actually invent the oil lamp, but he figured out that he had very good access to the oil. So he gave the oil lamps with a little bit oil away for free to a whole country, and then basically sold a month later the oil. And everybody had the product, so it was amazing. He had it worked well for him, let's put it that way. Yeah. Then as well, types maybe asset sale, usage fee, subscription fees, lending, renting, leasing. We have actually new names for this as well. Then licensing, brokerage fee, advertising, fixed prices maybe, list price, product feature dependent, customer segment dependent, volume dependent, and then dynamic pricing is kind of negotiating, bargaining. Yeah. So this is as well okay. Be aware there are biases, so it helps if you have an orientation price and brackets behind it. Yeah, so people are highly influenced by it. Yield management as well, real-time market maybe is another one. What is a real-time market? What does that mean?
Literally changes every second, like currency market or foreign exchange. So it's based on a lot of other factors that need to monitor all the time.
Yeah. What are people actually willing to pay versus what people are willing to give the stuff away for? Yeah. Okay. So here it was licensing fees, but again we had other examples. So, hello. So if so another important element. Those are the pictures that I was on about. So for entrepreneurs, they really kind of wanted to give you a little bit of feel for it. So the business model is as well kind of a recognition as a working in progress. So if everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. Yeah, that was one of the analogies. I don't know why they picked those. And this is a very terrible person. So again, I'm not sure why they picked that one. But no plan of operation extends with any certainty beyond the first contact with a main hostile force. And so the joke here being that customer. Yeah? So once you hit the customer, you really have to look at your business model if it still works, yeah, or if you have to actually adjust it. Yeah, and be brave to do so. Again, this is not a good example of person, but yeah. So so this was kind of our traditional set. Now we have as well kind of newer ones. So I mentioned I want to pitch it a little bit at sustainability. So I give you a few additional an add-on if you want to your business canvas. So lots about money and the people you financially transact with. But we have actually at the moment not the tools in our business canvas to look at the rest of the population that we may affect or how we actually relate in terms of sustainability. So again, there was a crafty PhD student that read this PhD and was like, hey, I can make a PhD out of this. I look at the sustainability aspect. Ta-da! A PhD. Yeah, so so maybe there's a lesson to be learned if you want to do a PhD. Yeah, yeah, and he did this pretty recent, so 2013, and he came up with this add-on for our business model. Isn't it great? Okay, so this is kind of, did you recognize that there's somewhere our old kind of cut into pieces, and then they have kind of crafted their new one on. So yeah, I mean, if we go actually through it, but there's a kind of contextual environmental notion, then the society, social and technological, then the company actually. Yeah, so this is as well new actually. It's surprising, right? In our business model, we're actually kind of we're very fluent with our business borders, but it has as well then the inner level of context, financial, economy, monetary. So you can as well look for wonderful notions and be aware this is a copyright from the PhD, so I have kind of given it this, so it's okay for lectures, but if you want to use it commercially, yeah, then you want to read the terms and condition, yeah. But you may want to read the terms and condition in the first place. But the point is, so as long as you just use it for educational notions, you will get his permission. So it's actually quite alright. Oh yeah, sorry, this was the old one. Yeah, another example, but I don't really want to go into this. So traditionally, we had these 9 categories. So his whole PhD was about integrating this with sustainability. So, so do the 9 actually help to design a better business? Yeah, they kind of do, but there's something missing, and this is of course the sustainability event. So we can do that actually quite easily if we are happy with revising a little bit our definitions that we had already. Yeah, so some of you will probably hate me for this, but it's just minor changes, but quite impacting. So from a business model, describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value in monetary terms. 2, value is the perception by a human or non-human actor of a need being met, measured in aesthetic, physiological, psychological was the first one, sorry, I am one too far, physiological and utilitarian and monetary terms. Now what does utilitarian mean? Does it mean that we measure utility? That's an ethical statement, right? Did you have that, utilitarianism? Ethics? Not I can't pronounce it probably. This is something to do with my English pronunciation as having grown up with the German alphabet. Yeah, it's very difficult. So it's kind of a question of morality, yeah, if you want. So utilitarianism is about kind of evaluating your actions of doing greater good, but not compromising at the same time on other people's environment. So this is actually something you should arguably define too, and we come to that actually how they did this. So they argue as well, value is created when a need are met via satisfiers that align with the recipient's worldview, and destroyed when they don't. Yeah, so basically if you destroy people's environment, then something is wrong with your business model. So this means then business model, the logic for an organization's existence, who it does it for, to and with, what it does it now and in the future, how, where and with what does it do it, and how it defines and measures its success. Yeah. And that then comes to the description of how an organization defines and achieves success over time. So if you have done that already, you're on the safe side. Now they have of course done a beautiful visualization, and I'm very happy to have engineers in front of me, so you like spatiality, yeah, and 3D drawings. They have no real effect actually, because it's just a business model, so we can't actually test it much. But so they've kind of brought a third dimension in it, which is always great. Yeah? So they have kind of the business as a unit sitting within a context of the financial economy, which is monetary. So this is kind of the argument that we had with the add-ons, right? Which national economy are we talking actually about? Yeah, so this is actually here explicitly covered. Then we have kind of the social technology context of society. Yeah, so this is kind of the people around our business. Are they affected? Do they like the idea? And then last but not least, the context of environment. And here thinking of physical, chemical, and biological. Well, this is how he has defined it. So traditionally we would talk here about an ecological system, but he clearly didn't like this too much, but which is fair enough. Yeah, this is just to add on, so he recognized this as well in his PhD, that it's actually hard enough to be profitable, and now we try to put a few additional levels on, but there's actually a good reason for that. So yeah, that is already in simple terms, according to his joke. But yeah, now we are actually using other ones as well. So we look as well at dimension of time. So again, perspectives on the business from the profit first balance scorecard start kind of with the human aspect. Who does a firm do it to, and for and with whom? Yeah. So this is kind of the stakeholders and stakeholder perspectives. So the new model kind of brings in the whole layer, maybe as well external perspectives, what does the firm do now and in the future? Yeah, so where do they want to go? Do they want to learn, or do you want to cash out? You do your invention, and your dream was always going into the boutique hotel, not in the cheap hotel that I talked about. Yeah, then you need clearly more money. Yeah, so once you have the budget, so then you can as well close the business, right, or sell it. So maybe that is our objective. Then the learning and development is probably quite close, or very short circle. Then we have how, where, and with what does the firm do it? This is kind of the perspective of the process, right? And then last but not least, perspective of measurement. How does the firm define and measure success in the environmental and social and monetary units? So, and again, here it's up to you to decide how you're managing success. Do we do this in businesses? Have you come across a term that does that? Anybody at Lloyd's? HSBC? Okay, some people not. And has anybody got a saving account? Oh, okay, this is maybe pitching a little bit steep. So is anybody interested in saving accounts? They give you actually now smart tools. Yeah, so they talk of internal rate of return, and then they have very. I mean, if I would be a student, I would find that very esoteric. That they tell me that that return is better, and that I have created sustainable value by purchasing my gas from sustainable energy gas or something like that. So they actually try to filter what products you are buying and then create a value map. But again, this is kind of new. It's not yet largely applied, but many businesses do that already. Particularly if you want to expand and you are customer focused or market focused, then you may have a look in how your brand actually succeeds or fails with your customers. Yeah, so then it's an additional measurement. Yeah, but you have to be careful. Then carbon capture is as well one, right? So we trade already with this. If you're a big steel company or have like high energy burning processes, you're probably already bargaining and calculating that into your balance sheets, which is quite an interesting one. So they can really kind of offset it against tax, which is interesting. Actually, do you cover that in sustainability? Have you looked carbon capture trading and kind of the certificates for production? No?
No.
Okay. Well, we have actually agreed as a world, as a small statement, to kind of 9 sustainability targets. Yeah, and one is carbon footprint capture, which is quite interesting. So have a look at those, because this is really what kind of world leaders have signed up to. That's an agreement, and there's not a lot of agreement that's not good. Well said. So, but essentially measurements. Yeah? So they may come for you too in companies in the future. If you can show this, then you have an advantage to others. Yeah. Okay, so those models are now, you see how fluently, so there's clearly an issue with kind of visualization here, but I'm not here to criticize this model. So he kind of has incorporated this, so this is this, you may not have noticed, so here we have the relation to this conceptual model, so relate real context and perspectives to the business model. So let's do that quickly. And he did this like this. Yeah, again, in visualization, I wouldn't give him the highest marks, but you see here is a business borders, and there's a little bit overlap, but I'm not sure, because the line goes, okay, I shouldn't quit. So you see it's not perfect, but it's a good attempt, so there's some overlap here, so I can recognize that. And then he tried to do something else. He wanted to actually map out with which businesses he works. So here you can kind of, if you really incorporate this in his PhD, he actually kind of talks even about value chains, where you have a sustainable value chain, where you can compete with your business, that you're actually doing sustainable business because your whole value chain has signed up to the same values. But then you need the firm names, right? You won't get around that. So it's quite an interesting one. So here, this is kind of context and perspective. So the old one is actually missing this, the vocal firm. and other organizations. Here you have the firm boundary clearly indicated. I'm not sure that that is clearly. Again, I think he is pushing a little bit his envelope here, but he has the economic, social, and environmental sources and things of all. Is that a typo for me? Okay. You have kind of the components, how they relate and how they're actually in or out. So you recognize here as well materials, energy, service, and actors that you can kind of link against the sustainability agenda, which is actually quite powerful. Now, with this context, you can kind of look at the overlap in the 2D models. So this is how he has done that. Now that makes it actually quite complicated. So it's not as simple to add on the actual canvas. So if you want to do this, maybe do it on a separate sheet and use it as a separate canvas and model yours in. So so there's nothing deleted. It still has the 9 kind of key questions for your business model. The adjustments kind of are additions or add-ons to recognize additional business drivers and unintended consequences. So this is what it kind of aims at, and it's where externalities in profit-first approach. So this allows for a systematic identification of risk and opportunities missed by profit-first canvases. So it's actually true, right? You have additional stakeholders, you have additional financial incentives, you have additional environmental hazards or dangers for you. So this is actually quite powerful. And adjustments generalize profit-first ideas. Additions bring new ideas required to design better businesses. And you have now an extended question, so now it's 14 questions, not 9. Yeah. I don't know if more is always better. So it's quite ironic that the first PhD tried to simplify all the business models, and he's now adding on. So you can see where this is going. It's a never-ending story, but nonetheless. So here's a stakeholder perspective. So he has tried to again. So green is environment. Pink was social and blue is a fiscal, right? And then he has again tried to work through the different notions. So here we have again the relationships and channels, right? And we have here customer, but he has extended it to stakeholders, actors, and needs. So who does a firm do it to, for, and with? So you have here, oh sorry, he has kind of broken that down as well, yeah. And then you have kind of the firm boundary, so there's a recognition that some actually sit outside the boundary, right? So this is kind of the firm boundary. Yeah? So you see you have actors here and needs, and they sit potentially as well in the social and environmental setting. And there's of course the pool of the potential stakeholders. Yeah? So it kind of combines interestingly this with stakeholder theory and the fundamental needs of the actors. So you can see as well who will rebel, and all chosen stakeholders that you actually consider internal to your product. So then relationships, you still have the desired relationships with all stakeholders. This is still as you have it in the normal canvas. And then in the channels, you have the value proposition delivery channel for all stakeholders. So this goes actually far beyond. So here you are analyzing as well those guys, right? So you kind of become aware of externalities. Yeah. Now again, strongly sustainable actors are added. We talked through it, so I won't cover that in too much detail. This is kind of product learning and development. So here we have the time dimension, right? So what does the firm do now and what will it do in the future? So here you again have the value proposition at the heart though, and again blue is again our fiscal and monetary. Then what is that actually? What is on my screen? It does look like normal pink, but here's the lilac going, right? It's different. Okay, so this color is kind of social, right? And the green or ochre or something like that, right? Is the environment. Yeah. So what does a firm do and now and in the future? So there's again the firm boundary. So you learn maybe as well afterwards about wrongdoings. And here you have again the value proposition that is combined with environmental, social, and economic factors for all stakeholders now and in the future. And value propositions. Consider value creation. So here they actually propose as well to aim your business at improvement. So if you are an engineering company or a tech startup and you have an aspiration about efficiency and effectiveness anyway, you will probably hit those. So you may miss the social, but environmental is normally quite easy because it's cheaper to use materials that are probably a little bit more sustainable or easier to make. So you have certain elements already, and financially this is often as well a target of optimizing, right? So being more profitable. Okay, so again, this is kind of as well summarized. Then we have the processes. How, where, and with what does a firm do it? I'm not sure that he has picked the best questions for this, right? But yeah, so here we have again the fiscal, and you can see here we are going into the environmental, so ecosystem services, biophysical stocks, and here you as well rely on the social side. Then you have the resources and activities, and again the actual physical boundary of the company. So you can see some of them are actually activities and resources bound within the company, and then others are actually external to the business. And with it come as well decisions. So this is new. This is why I kind of mentioned the unitarianism, trying to do good governance, and as well partnerships potentially to look after this. Oh yeah, sorry. And I had again, all that as well in my boxes. And as well ultimate source and sink of all tangible resources. So looking at the footprint that you actually leave with it, and enabling activities for the environment. And here with the decisions, this was actually even ethical consideration, right? Like moral decisions to go the right way, if you want. Okay, then the measurement is how does a firm define and measure success, and this is environmental, social, and monetary units. So you saw initially we talked a lot only about the monetary value, maybe a little bit social value. So, and here you can see again, it sits outside of the company border, the overlap here. So you have the different boundaries, then the firm boundary, then the defining of acceptable success, and measure of process outcome and or performance. And then you have as well the economic, social, environment valuation of assets, so tree profit balance. Tree profit. Triple bottom line was he has used a different term for this. Tree profit balance sheet, And then you have the measures of prices for value propositions, so cost, revenue, profit, in economic, social, and environmental terms. So this is why it's now triple profit P&L. And again, he has made kind of his claims clear here. So it's a valuation method, and if you do it, you are a very, very strong supply chain partner. You can probably outperform a lot of a supply chain partner because not many capture all these factors. So this is actually very advanced. And then you come to this, a strongly sustainable business canvas. Amazing, right? So again, keep in mind, if you want to use this commercially, then there is actually copyright with his PhD on this, But again, for educational purposes, this is absolutely free, as well in the end, kind of in the reference section, the webpage from him, if you're interested in this, And this would be the simple add-on. Are you impressed? Okay, have a look. He gives you as well in the slides kind of notes of how you can do this actually. So he kind of tries to stick to the theme. We only experiment a little bit around actually this Thursday with it, so we won't go into much detail. But this is actually the adaptation from an existing business model. So you can scroll in, so it's high resolution. So be careful. The PowerPoint slide size were something like 20 megabytes. But you can have a look on what that actually entails. Now, for your business model, if you want to analyze this, as a conceptual frame, this would be a cool piece for your individual piece, maybe, because you would hit all the topics. But see if that is actually of interest to you.
Robert, do you know when you're saying like triple P&L?
Yeah. So his model here, right?
Yeah. Like what values do you assign for like the environmental and social things? Like when it says that.
So if you actually look at the slides, he has there we go. You can see that he actually refers to kind of the whole life costing. So it's like harm of reputation, and there are indicators for this. So we know this from past companies, and the idea is that by not actually paying attention to environmental factors or social impact, you get a loss of reputation. So it's kind of counter indicators that you are counting here that give you a potential risk, how harming it would be
So it
to not.
actually puts a monetary value on the risk.
Yeah, so it's really more a risk assessment, to be very accurate. This is why I'm saying as well, this is normally associated in the proper literature and sustainability with triple bottom line, and with risk and opportunity management.
So I don't know if anyone knows, but like with VW, do you think they actually sold less cars the next year?
It's worse. They actually had done this homework, and they even put the money aside, so they were expecting that they may get caught.
Yeah.
So that is completely, so there's an intentionality flying along with it. So this is very bad. Yeah, but ethically speaking, from a decision-making point. But those guys do those risk management models already very sophisticated. All the big companies that have their own financial services normally do risk management models directly correlating to then scenarios with budgets that they hold as insurance internally. Yeah.
So if they had to pay like a lot of money to for their apology and stuff and press release and say, but I just wondered have they sold less cars in the next couple of years? Because
I don't know. There was a knock-on, right? So they had to take some back. They had to do some settlements for people that kind of complained or asked for it. So there were cars returned because you got the new price back, right? So that made a lot of financial sense, I think, for any car owner. But I haven't really followed through on what the impact was.
It's just because, for me personally, because I think in the UK there's loads of Focuses and Golfs on the road. It's probably the top 3 or 4 car in the UK, and I don't think anyone would be put off by purchasing a Golf.
We had a similar thing here, right, with BMW. They had as well kind of fake eco standards, but this didn't even make it into the media, and BMW doesn't seem to be impacted by it at all. So it seems to be as well kind of people that buy it. So I think what made it so outrageous in America was that the VW was actually sold with this new regulation as one of the few cars that gets it, which was kind of really misleading.
In the UK as well, we're changing how tax cars, so it's not even going to be, you're not going to get these low tax prices anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get free tax or £30 tax per year, that's all changing in April or something like that next year. Very soon. Okay. But I was just interested.
No, I'm not on the loop on this, but maybe it's worthwhile investigating. Yeah, and you could. If this would be like a product idea, you could see how you could create value for customers or make them more aware. But this is then probably activism on the other side. Attacking VW on that. You have as well here the papers actually often as a citation in the bottom. So if you're interested in trying this out, this is kind of prepared with the literature that he used in his PhD. You can download the PhD as well for free. So if you Google it, you will see it's on his webpage. As well, I've given you as well the webpage, so you can actually play as well around with his maps, and he shows how to adapt the. So it's literally don't press the sign up button. Oh yeah, actually this is dangerous. Maybe click here. Then because here you're signing up basically for it potentially, they ask you to put your email in. But initially, if you're interested in what they're doing, they have kind of a guide as well, how you can use your business canvas to adjust it to sustainability. You can just run through the exercise and see where you arrive with that. In the workshop, we only do this partially. I show you an example of a case where it actually improved, and I show you one where it really failed the business model. So be careful with those. It can create both, right? You are changing your focus, and this is kind of why we are covering this. Okay. Any questions? Okay, this was quite a run. Yeah, 1 hour and 20 minutes. So you have deserved a fair recovery now. If you don't have any questions, I will see you in the workshop on Thursday, and we work through the case studies that I bring along. But if you're interested, go on the webpage. They have really good tools and guides. So it's really good stuff actually. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, super. Thank you.